when you look at isekai stories, it doesn't. So even if a protagonist has superpower, they don't typically act as a god who tries to impose some, who faces some moral dilemma. Which is very interesting because in the Matrix and even Superman too, right? They and LitRPG characters, they all face this issue that what to do when you have a strong a superpower. How do you want to use it so that the whole community benefits or not, right? And that way, so that difference is very interesting because isekai, they don't care, they just I have a good life and there's an obstacle, I'm just gonna defeat it and then I'm gonna keep on having a good life. Whereas RPG goes into that particular theme, which is very deep, right? Which is much deeper and much more thought-provoking, but it's very interesting difference in approach. So
I will say this about anime specifically, not isekai, because I don't think One Punch Man falls under isekai roles. Yeah. But I will say that there are anime out there, such as One Punch Man, that take a fascinating approach. The thing I love about One Punch Man is that he is super powerful. Mm-hmm. He has Superman syndrome, which is that he can literally defeat any enemy in one punch. But the hardest combatant that he has to deal with is himself.
Right.
And he has to face his own doubt and his own struggles and those sorts of things. So maybe there's some isekai out there that has that.
That's a very interesting one because One Punch Man faces is very different from, let's say, the Watchmen, right?
Yeah.
The Watchmen is really about okay, who's gonna watch the Watchmen? Exactly, right?
Yeah.
But One Punch Man is it's asking about personal. It's kind of like a personal happiness, right? Okay, when am I gonna be happy with myself when I have the superpower? Then it really doesn't really go into okay, am I gonna save this? The protagonist Saitama doesn't really pay attention to how can he resolve social conflicts. He's trying to resolve his own unhappiness or emptiness, something like that.
Yeah.
But it's very it's an interesting. So it has a very different philosophical style.
Yeah, and just to go down this path just a little bit further before we get back on, I see this also with stuff like My Hero Academia versus, I mentioned Drew Hayes, the author. One of my favorite books, and the thing that introduced me to him was his book series, the Superpowered series, which is a completed series. There's 5 books in the series, and My Hero Academia is pretty straightforward. It's a superhero school. Character gains his superpowers through an unusual way. It has a personal struggle and has to grow into being a hero. And then you also follow the struggles of these other heroes in training and their growth. What Drew Hayes' superpower